The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. Happy November. We hope that you all had a happy and safe Halloween last night. I know everybody's a little bleary-eyed this morning. But we're here. Welcome to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. I'm Shannon Penrod, and my good friend Nancy Allspot Jackson is not with us today. But I'm thrilled to be here with you, and we've got a big show planned for you because today is November 1st, which means today the toy guide is live, and I'm told that it's live and active right now on our website. This is the Autism Live 2019 Toy and Gift Guide. We do this now on a yearly basis. We pick toys and gifts in different categories and give them different awards. And it's not just us. We invite parents and kiddos on the spectrum, teens and adults on the spectrum, therapists. Everybody plays with the toys and tells us what their opinions are. And then we're able, from the voting process and what people have said, and more importantly, what they play with, right? We picked winners and they're featured in the toy guide, and you can look at it today. And today, for the first time, we're going to unveil a couple of the toys. And throughout the next month and a half, all the way up till the 20th of December, we're going to be on a regular basis reviewing toys and showing you things in the toy guide, sometimes talking to the toy makers themselves. And the whole goal of this is to help you to spend your dollars wisely on things that not only will be happy and joyous for the person to receive, because isn't that what gift giving is about, but also help them to be able to bring their passion to light, to help them to build skills that they need and that are essential, but we want to do it in a way that's play so that it's safe. And, you know, we always quote Dr. Phil here about everybody needs a safe place to fall and to fail, right? Toys help kids be able to practice, to be able to do things, especially social skills, right? So we're going to feature those toys. It's my favorite time of the year. I cannot lie. So thrilled that we're going to be able to do that. We also have a wonderful guest who's going to be joining us in just a little while. Jill Woodworth is going to be with us. I love that, you know, you ask people, you know, well, what would you like for your title to be? And she calls herself a human being and a writer. I love that. And she's a podcaster. She is a chronicler of being human. She does have a podcast and a blog, and she refers to herself as being a case manager of 5 souls. 3 of those souls have tuberous sclerosis complex. And I don't know enough about that. So we're going to have Jill here to talk with us about what that is, what that means. I'm told that there are a higher percentage of people on the autism spectrum than neurotypical folks who have tuberous sclerosis complex. So I think it's an important topic for us to talk about, and I'm thrilled that she's going to be here with us. Before that, though, we're going to do a little bit of our In the News. I know it's not as much fun without Nancy, but we're going to soldier on, right? Okay, and I don't know which order you have our stories, Traven, because I've messed up the order here now, but there is a new headline out in the world that says analysis finds evidence to support finds little evidence to support dietary interventions for autism, right? And here's where I go nuts, because people read this and they go, see, the dietary interventions are just a waste of time. But if you dig into this study and this article, you will see that maybe that's not really what we're saying here. So let's give you a little bit of an idea. They looked at a bunch of 27 different clinical trials, right, to see, okay, what are these clinical trials saying? They were looking to see, do dietary interventions with supplements or removing certain foods help with things like repetitive behaviors? And what they found is that very little in these 27 articles supported eliminating things from diets, and that very little was shown in terms of supplements to help with these things. But they did find that omega-3 fatty acids and vitamins B6, B12, C, D, and folate may offer small improvements compared to the placebos that were given to people in the control group. And so I know everybody walks away and goes, oh, well, that's that then. I guess those dietary interventions don't work. And those of us who are parents in the community who've done dietary interventions with our kids and see big improvements go, wait a second, how can that be? How can it be that we saw big improvements and yet you guys do these studies and we're not seeing it? What's the disconnect? And this analysis goes on to identify, as does any good analysis, what's the problem with the studies. And let me just cut to the chase. Spoiler alert, we get to the end, and what the lead investigator says is, this study strikes me as a call for better designed clinical trials. Future clinical trials looking at the effects of dietary interventions need to collect other biomarkers, because there are a lot of different issues that went into play with these case studies. One of them was that they just lumped supplements all together and didn't tease them all out. So people would be taking all of their supplements at the same time. And you guys know, we've talked about this before on the show, if you try everything all at once and you get a little bit of a bump, you don't really know what did it. And you don't know if that would have given a bump, but there's something that's causing a suppressor. You don't know. And we really encourage here, as do a lot of doctors, that when you're doing supplements, you do them one at a time. I've been telling you guys, I've been having some health concerns over the summer and working on them, and my doctor threw me on a bunch of medicines, and I was worse. I was immediately worse than I was before, and I was in pretty bad shape before we started the pills. And the conversation with my doctors, I was like, I'm frustrated because clearly I'm on something that is not helping. They were like, no, people don't have reactions except in rare cases. I'm allergic to everything, right? And it took me having to do a bunch of different things, but we finally identified what the pill was that was rocking the boat and making everything miserable, and I'm a happier person now that I'm off of that. And the reverse is true too. It's important that we don't throw everything in at once, because when something isn't working, we really can't put our finger on what it is. And for these interventions, they threw all the supplements at once. So do they really know what, The other thing was that they didn't look, there was only one study that looked in this 27 that looked at eliminating gluten and casein, and that the trial looked at different age groups, which is not equal and even, right? So if you have a 4-year-old who's on a gluten-free, casein-free diet, and you're lumping them in the same study with a 14-year-old that's on the gluten, they're going to cancel each other out, right? So, because we've seen that some of the dietary interventions are much more potent with younger kids. So they're calling for looking at biomarkers, and looking at inflammation as a way of seeing, does taking this supplement reduce inflammation, which can ease things like anxiety. Call for better study. So watch carefully when you see these news headlines, these research headlines, look at it to say, okay, I think the jury is still really out there. This is not an open and shut case. Okay. Next research out of the NIH, National Institutes for Health. A funded study that they did suggests that acetaminophen exposure in pregnancy is linked to higher risk of ADHD and autism. Okay, so follow this with me because I've been talking about acetaminophen for a while. When you look at the rise and increase of autism over the years, and you look at it across countries and states, right? And you see that in certain countries, it's slightly higher than in others, but it's pretty equal and even. Except there's one country that we are aware of that notates autism that is still having an increase, but not the wild increase in autism. Can you guess? Can you guess which country is not seeing that huge jump in autism? Cuba. Cuba. And you ask yourself, why? Is it because they're not diagnosing? That's a possibility. It absolutely is. But Cuba is also a place where acetaminophen is a prescription drug. You have to have a prescription for it. It is not over the counter, and they like to use it sparingly. We know that acetaminophen is a methylation blocker. So your body has a methylation system that essentially it's your trash system. It takes in toxins and it puts it through this thing and it dumps them. And usually it dumps them, the place it dumps them the most is through your skin and mostly through the skin on your feet. This is where we dump our toxins, right? And when you take acetaminophen, what it does is it either shuts down or slows down your methylation process. So if we have kiddos that are exposed to pesticides and we give them acetaminophen, we are saying, I know this thing is not good for you and is likely going to cause an uptick in your ADH behaviors, but now I'm going to give you acetaminophen and make it less possible for your body to rid itself of the toxin that we've just introduced it to. Kind of makes sense, right? And to say that it's linked in pregnancy, for women in pregnancy, kind of makes sense too, right? So I know that a lot of people over the years have looked at acetaminophen and believe me, you know, there's a time and a place to take acetaminophen, and I still take acetaminophen sparingly. I just don't pop it like, you know, it's, you know, the be all end all that we used to back in the 80s, which also coincides with the increase in autism, right? So I'm not saying don't take acetaminophen. I'm saying sparingly and perhaps not at all when you're pregnant. And we already have, they've removed in the last 5 years all of the liquid acetaminophen to give to babies. So that should be infinitely harder to give to a child on the autism spectrum or any child. Interesting. Okay, but you can read more about the NIH study. Go to their website and find out about the increase that they see in pregnant women using acetaminophen and having children that end up being on the autism spectrum or having ADHD. Okay, interesting study talking about measuring gaze as a way of detecting autism. We have seen many studies that have looked at the fact that people who are on the autism spectrum, even small children, even adults, that their gaze orients to different things than what a neurotypical person orients towards. You and I, assuming that you are neurotypical and assuming that I'm neurotypical, which is assuming a lot, right? So, I don't even like that term, neurotypical, but let's say in a brain that's developing that doesn't have autism, let's say that, they tend to orient to faces, right? We've known that for quite a while, and that individuals who are on the autism spectrum tend to orientate to other things that are not about faces. So can you show a video and be able to tell with any accuracy whether a person is on the autism spectrum or not? Well, this study showed that half the time you can show a video and accurately be able to see who is on the autism spectrum. Half the time. I don't know if that's useful or not, but it's interesting, isn't it? And what they noticed is that in showing these 3 videos that they showed, people who do not have an autism brain have a very predictable eye gaze. That it's like, oh, they, you know, everybody tends to look here and then they look here when this happens and look here. Predictable. And what they saw for individuals that had brains that were autism brains, that it was not predictable, that everybody's gaze was a little bit different. It didn't fit into a specific thing. It wasn't like the others. So as a teacher, that interests me, right? Because I want to know, what were they looking at? And of course, here at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders, they have phenotyped 17 specific different types of autism, and I sort of want to see, do the people, the clusters in those 17 groups, does their eye gaze, is it predictable within their group, right? Isn't that a great question? I'll have to talk to Dr. Dennis Dixon about that. I don't recall if we showed all of you all the ways that you can connect and be a part of the show. Traven, did we show that earlier, or did I just plots on? I plots on, I think. Can we show it now? Can we show everybody different ways that you can connect with us? Because in a second, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back with Jill Woodworth, a human being, a writer, and as she says, the case manager of Five Souls. But we want you to know the ways that you can connect with us, the ways that you can have your question heard. It's very important for us that you have a voice here with us. And by the way, that's everybody watching, whether you are an individual who's on the autism spectrum or you're somebody who cares about somebody on the autism spectrum. We call that the larger autism community. And that's what we're here for all of the members in that community, to help you to get to the information and the inspiration that we know you so richly deserve, and the progress that you so richly deserve, and that is available with the right resources. And they're not all the same resources for the same person, right? So thank you for being on this journey with us. I hope that you will participate in whichever way is the most friendly for you. Right? We try to be in lots of different outlets so that you can pick and choose. And don't forget, there's iTunes. We are on iTunes, and you can free download, either the whole show with picture and sound, or you can download it with just the sound if you want to be taking us with you in the car, which is a very fun thing. Okay, so we're going to take a break, and when we come back, Jill Woodworth, but don't forget, a little bit later on in the show, we've got a couple of toy reviews for you from our wonderful toy guide, so stick with us.
Hey, I'm Candace Cameron Bray.
Tom Bergeron.
You're watching Autism Live.
And you're watching Autism Live.
And you're watching Autism Live.
You're watching Autism Live.
Do you provide care services to someone with autism? Recently, more and more children are being diagnosed with the condition and getting the support they need as awareness grows. But what happens to these children as they grow up? It's estimated that over 500,000 youth with autism will turn 18 in the next decade, and they'll be faced with a very difficult reality. As children with autism grow up, their services start to disappear or become very difficult to access. Things like medical care, mental health counseling, vocational training, and more. All services that are still desperately needed. The loss of support that youth with autism face as they grow up is so severe that it's referred to in the autism community as falling off a cliff. Adults with autism need the same level of support they had as children to avoid falling off the services cliff. Introducing Skills Living, the web-based software designed specifically to help transitioning youth and adults with autism so they can avoid the cliff and instead fly to success. With Skills Living, help your learner with autism develop the skills they need in all the critical areas of adult life, including self-control, planning, and problem-solving, effective communication, performing life skill tasks for independent living, acquiring and maintaining employment or other meaningful activities, developing and maintaining social skills and relationships, accessing transportation and public services, and being safe. Skills Living includes a comprehensive assessment, a data collection mobile app, behavior intervention plan builder, and automatic progress reporting. It also provides a complete curriculum addressing 16 key areas spanning the entire range of functioning adulthood. Skills Living is easy to use and can be implemented by schools, parents, and autism service providers. Call or click today for your free demo and see how Skills Living can help your learner with autism avoid the cliff and instead reach their fullest potential. Skills Living. Wish, learn, become.
Welcome back to Autism Live and to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. Joining us right now via Skype is Jill Woodworth. I love how she describes herself as being a human being, a writer, a podcaster, and a chronicler of being human. She also says that she is the case manager of 5 souls. Jill, this cracks me up more than I can tell you. It's so awesome. It's like the perfect description of what used to be. My mother used to describe herself as chief cook and bottle washer, right? But that didn't really describe what she did. Being a case manager of 5 souls says it all. And we should mention that 3 of the souls that you are case managing have tuberous sclerosis complex. So please help us to know, what is that?
Okay. Tuberous sclerosis complex is a genetic condition that causes benign tumors to grow in different organs of the body. So it affects everybody differently, and people can be affected extremely, from like mild to severe, where your life at your group home, really debilitating. It's unpredictable, and it involves a component of intense behavior on top of dealing with life-threatening seizures and, kind of living in a lot of emergency situations. So it's, in a lot of cases, it's very manageable. There's no cure, and I think that's the mission of a lot of parents, and of course, the TSC community would love to find a cure. But I think people don't really know how it's going to play out when their kids are younger. So that's kind of why I started the podcast, was having had several children with it and kind of learning through trial and error what worked and what didn't work, and still learning, because there's a lot of unknowns. So someone can be affected, like for instance, one of my children had a tumor in her brain that required brain surgery. And they may have issues in their kidneys. That's another area that's very, it's common to have complications with kidney tumors, and there's just facial manifestations. And then another big component is the tuberous sclerosis associated neuropsychiatric disorder, which basically encompasses the entire mental health umbrella. So I think the last statistic I heard was there's 90% of the people that have TSC, no matter how they're impacted, from mild to severe, have some component of what we call TAND. And that actually can be as challenging as the medical part. And, there's a lot of, I think it's the most, as far as the connection with autism, the leading genetic cause of autism. So one of my children is on the autism spectrum, along with having, the other TSC stuff. One has more of an intellectual disability, and one's pretty cognitively typical. So it's been kind of the full spectrum.
Yeah, you have your hands full. I totally am picturing that T-shirt saying, "If you think my hands are full, you should see my heart." Because I get the sense that that's kind of your story, right? Because this is probably a lot to deal with, but I love that you are so positive and proactive, that not only are you navigating the ship for your 5 souls, but you made a decision to start a podcast about it. Now, explain to me, you have a partner in crime, I'm told. Is that this is Lisa that we're referring to, Lisa Larson.
Yes.
And so tell us a little bit about what you guys do on your podcast.
Okay, well, it started with just me interviewing my kids. This was a few years back, and thinking that if I put a message out there and interviewed them and talked about kind of let their voices come out, it might be helpful to other people that were maybe struggling. And so I interviewed my kids, and then I kind of lost my mojo and put it down for a while. And then I went to a TSC World Conference, which they have every few years. This one was in Dallas, and I met, I was just immersed in the TSC community. It's a very tight-knit community. And it was this conference where everybody gets together, including all the doctors, anybody who's giving a speech or sharing at the conference or a seminar. Everybody's staying in the same place, so it's a kind of a unique setting. But anyway, so I met with a lot of these moms, and I still felt like there was something missing for me personally. I remember being really overwhelmed and like going up to my hotel room and feeling like I've come all this way, and I feel like I should be more connected, but I don't know how to get from A to Z, and feeling like if I knew people's stories and talked to them a little more, maybe it would be helpful for not only for me, but for other people, because, you're dealing with intense situations for such a long period of time that there's really not that many people that you feel like you can relate to or be close to. So, I don't know. I felt like it would be a fun, kind of I don't know whether I would say fun, but a therapeutic journey. And so, I looked into podcasting, and it looked kind of, I had done it before, but I wanted to do the interview format, and just figured out that I could pick up my phone and call people and take the audio file and then produce it into a podcast. So I started doing that, and I found a few people that were willing to talk to me. One gentleman, the first person I did, after I was interviewing my kids, was this young man with TSC, who I knew his mother, and she was like, "Sure, Justin, we'll do it." And he came on, and he talked about his, getting to a really low point, wanting to have a rope around his neck, and just really powerful stuff. And so it kind of went from there, and people were interested in talking to me, and it also kind of highlighted whatever person I was talking to, whatever particular part of their TSC journey they were at. Those particular issues were highlighted. So if I was talking to someone who had a younger child and was in the throes of, seizures that are very common early on, a very serious type of seizure called infantile spasms that many affected with TSC have, that would also give some education to the general public about this particular issue and the TSC community. So people, it was just like a tool that I felt like I was doing something. It had been hard to work outside the home just because of the juggling of all kinds of stuff. I don't need to explain that, but so I just kind of started doing it, and then I have a few friends that have stuck with me over the years, and one of my friends offered to help me. I was like, "Well, do you want to edit some podcasts?" And she said she would, and I remember the first podcast she edited, she took out every and but that was in the audio. So, we've had this like really great relationship kind of going back and forth with these as a team, where I do the front end, she does the back end, and it's kind of grown from there. So that's how we got started.
I'm jealous that you can take out all the ums. I don't have the ability to do that. But we
don't want to. We want to keep it natural. That's kind of my mojo, is like, I want it to, dressing up like this is a lot for me. Nothing bad. I enjoy doing it, but yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. I totally hear you. Well, I think it's wonderful what you're doing. So the name of the podcast is TSCTalks. I hear you guys refer to yourselves as Thelma and Louise. Is that true?
Well, you caught that, yes. I understood that.
And where can people find the podcast?
They can find it if you have a Google, any kind of Alexa, or you can say tell Alexa play the podcast, TSC Talks. We are at TSCTalks.com. We're on Facebook. We are on Twitter, Instagram. I think if you look up TSC, Facebook, it's at TSC Talks. And let's see, LinkedIn, we're on there, and YouTube we're starting to do a little more there, and we just launched this crowdfunding study. So we started that. I can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I would. That was going to be my next question. Is let's talk a little bit about the crowdfunder that you guys have going on and what it is you're raising money for.
Okay. Well, I think one of my things that I've kind of discovered over the years was just the amount. Well, like case management is pretty weighty, as I've described. But one thing is a lot of medication management in TSC, and hearing about it. Also, we have in the TSC. Well, it's not in the TSC community, but the medication Epidiolex is a new FDA approved CBD isolate that is a lot of families or people affected are having some success with that. And I thought that's wonderful. It's very hard to get that because you have to actually have a certain level of severity to be able to be eligible. So, but knowing that formulation was out there, I had been talking with. I work at another job where I do some social media work for Nikki's Gardens of Hope, which she'll be on next week, but.
Yes, she will.
That's on my podcast I ended up working for, and I don't want to get too sidetracked here, but she's starting a home to build permanent residences for adults with IDD and autism, and she's got a really interesting project and vision. But so I guess I had heard about CBD, being really good for epilepsy, and it's kind of all over the place. And also, medical cannabis, people have had some success with that for autism. So a friend that I work with, Chris Nichols at Nikki's Gardens, had some time, and he offered to help Lisa and I kind of develop something that we could do a crowdfunder where we'd be giving some kind of a product or it's going to be an ebook, something out there that might be helpful for families that were considering using cannabinoid medicine or CBD personally or just with their loved ones affected, and not from I'm not a doctor, clearly. Really just gathering a lot of information, but we hope we're going to test different brands of CBD and give on their certificate of authenticity, just some basic testing parameters. We're going to put it into a nice write-up. We're going to add in a lot of collaborative resources and these podcast interviews that we're doing with people across the industry to give a lot of information about, what might be important to consider, concerns with interactions of medications, the latest research, and kind of put it all in a package, like a digital ebook, and that will be, you can get that for a donation to our crowdfunder. And also, I think making the connections in the CBD community has been really interesting because there's just, in podcasting, you're not tied to anything. I mean, I'm tied to the TSC community, but there's a lot of connections. It seems like there's connections in, the special needs community in a lot of different areas. So kind of sidestepping into this new area and connecting with cannabis nurses and doctors that are, kind of groundbreaking in this area, and finding out that people are having some success using, cannabis and TSC and for kids with autism. And so hoping that also to kind of move the thought forward that we can't really wait for these pharmaceutical formulations to be ready. If there's something now that we can find a way to put together some kind of protocol to use, if it's just CBD or it's a mix of cannabinoid medicine in the states where, it's legal to infuse some THC. I believe that there's a combination that happens to be particularly helpful for people with autism, whether it's low THC, high CBD. So, there's some legal issues but basically the first book would be information on CBD, but also a lot of supplementary information on cannabinoid medicine, and a real resource. So, and hoping that people would say, polypharmacy is a big issue, personally, when you have children that are on meds for, 20 plus years, 5-6 different meds, and long-term not knowing the impact of those meds, and, looking at, not being really able to look away at the successes people are having with cannabinoid medicine. And with reduced side effects and the potential of hitting more than one. You know, for instance, if you're knocking down seizures and dealing and possibly improving behavior or just lessening anxiety, and you can lower the doses of other pharmaceuticals, that's a big win in my book, a small thing. So, you know, we're seeing where this goes. It's kind of given us a lot of new connections, and we're not stepping away from the TSC community. We are going to continue to do podcasts in that area, and we're always looking for new guests and sponsorships. There's some leaders in the TSC community that are experts on behavior, the TAND component that I mentioned that will be coming on, and continuing to do these cannabis podcasts. And I just found it fascinating to know there's this whole community out there with the nurses and people that are really have had profound, life-changing, you know, and I don't want to make it sound like it's a panacea for all, but it's helped a lot of people get healthier and mental, physical health. And to me, that's really important.
Wonderful. And so where do people find the crowdfunding site? Where can they go if they want to get more information?
They could go right to our website, TSCTalks.com. We have right on the front page, we have a link to go to the crowdfunding site, and we also have, it's on Indiegogo, and I will be, we are posting it constantly, the crowdfunding link. So it's, I don't have the exact letters here. I should have that, but it's
that's okay.
Cannabis testing, safety testing, and podcasts.
Wonderful.
That's the broad term.
Okay.
And yeah.
And they can find you on Facebook at TSC Talks as well. And unfortunately, we're out of time, but this has been so interesting, and thank you so much for enlightening us as to all this information. We'll encourage people to listen to your podcast. Go to TSCTalks.com and listen to the podcast. I want to hear Thelma and Louise. So, and good luck, and we'll look forward to hearing from you in the future.
All right. Thank you so much, Shannon. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So we're going to take a break, and then we've got toys to review. So don't miss a beat. Come back. Thank you. Right back after these.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get wild, let's get wild. 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 Let's get wild.
Hi, welcome back to Autism Live. I'm Lisa Ackerman. We're here doing allergy-free cooking, and I brought my sister with me today.
Jamie Davis, thanks for having me.
A lot of people are asking about an allergy-free breakfast, and breakfast can be full of crap.
But it's full of
cereal.
crap, and it's hard to do. We don't have time in the morning. We're in a hurry.
We're going completely nut-free. The recipe is not
personality. We can't do anything about.
Yeah, can't do anything about that. So we're going to start off first with. I'm using sorghum and brown rice flour. I find the texture good, and I've added some flaxseed meal. We talked about that last time, flaxseed meal for poop. Almost every one of our kids has a poop issue. What's next on the recipe is the quinoa flakes, baking powder, cinnamon, and the xanthan gum. It brings the glutinous texture back into the flour, and often what happens with these recipes is they can fall apart. This one holds up nicely. I like it. For the folks that are egg-free, we have a ton of egg replacers. One of those can be the arrowroot starch or bringing back some additional flaxseed. So there's a lot of options to go eggless, but we're going to go egg full in this one. For sweetener, I use the maple syrup. I stay away from refined sugar. What I'm adding now is the coconut milk, maple syrup, and a little bit of the coconut oil. And we're going to add in the raisins, craisins, and chocolate chips at the end. I find that chocolate chips can coax people to eat some really amazing things. When we started, Jeff had 42 food allergies, so we had to get creative in how we cooked. So nuts were a big, big issue. What I like now is that he can tolerate so many more things after we start doing this diet. So let me show you how you can deal with this sticky stuff here. You get your fingers really wet, and you can push it down. So my oven has been preheated. It's at 350 degrees. So we're gonna just throw this in. Like I said, I like it around 23 minutes, and the magic oven says, I'm done. Looks like. Don't you love magic ovens? They're awesome. Here we go, pops right out. the texture of these, and it's so pretty. It looks almost like a big chocolate chip cookie, but you actually made it healthy. But you can be my guinea pig. Tell me what you think.
That looks really good.
Doesn't it? So the textures and the colors in there are just beautiful. So the raisins are for you, the chocolate chips are for your kid.
I can't believe it's gluten-free.
I know, right? It doesn't taste like, you know, crap. We're wrapping up another cooking show. If you have feedback, you can email us at autismlive@gmail.com. We're, of course, on Facebook. You could go to facebook.com/autismlive. And of course, Talkin' Now has thousands of recipes. Join me there, and we can cook some more later on. So thanks for joining us.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Welcome back to Autism Live on our first day of the 2019 Autism Live Toy and Gift Guide. This is my favorite time of year where we get to talk about the amazing toys. And right now I want to tell you about our top book award in the toddler category. This is a wonderful, it's called the Touch and Teach Word Book, and it's by VTech. And you guys know VTech. They are a great company, and they're known for doing their interactive teaching toys. Now, I love books, and I'm all about books, and I'm all about having our toddlers read and do books. And one of the things that I talk about a lot is that it's got to be interactive. And if you're sitting and reading a book with your toddler, that you need to make it interactive, right? Well, I sort of think that this toy is remarkable because it helps teach parents about how you make it interactive, right? And sometimes, let's face it, you've got a kiddo, and let's say that you've got one kiddo that you've got to take to therapy, speech therapy, and you load up your toddler in the car, and you're like, oh gosh, I feel like we're not getting the enriched environment that they need to have. This is a great thing to take in the car because your child is going to feel like they're playing with this electronic toy, but they are going to be learning their faces off. Yes, you can quote me on that. I have it here so that you can see how it comes beautifully packaged so that you know where to look for it in the toy store. Although, if you go to our toy guide, which is right on autism-live.com, and you click on the toy guide, which is right on the top of the page, go to where you find this toy, and if you click on the name of the toy, it takes you right to where you can purchase it, which is pretty amazing, right? But I do want to point out to you that we're on a green screen, so anything that's green will pop up as black and see-through. So can you see where it says teach? It's in green. So it's a little bit more colorful than what you're seeing. So looks like it's almost a tablet, right? But your child opens up the book and there is a host of interactive learning. And I don't know if you guys can see, but on each page, there's a category, and I love this because not only do we want to teach all the different things that are here, but we want to teach what category they go in. So right here, it says your home, right? And if I click on the picture of the clock with my finger, oh, we'll have to turn it on first. Hello. So, and by the way, there's all these different modes here. I turn it on and I've got words, I've got letters, and I've got music. So there's the three different modalities for each page. But so over here, I'm on words and I click on clock and it says clock and it makes the noise of a clock. So as a child, I can push these things, but I can turn the page just like a book, right? But it tells me what the category is. It says food, touch the word. So I want to touch cheese. And it makes a little noise that goes along with cheese. We know that some children learn visually, some children learn orally, right, through hearing, and by putting a noise with it, it's going to help solidify those senses. So what if I were to put it on letters?
Letter fun. Hi, are you ready to explore?
Are you ready?
Letters?
Can you hear it?
A word.
So I'm going to touch cheese.
Begins with the letter C.
How amazing is that? Can you guys hear that? It begins with the letter C. But what if I put it on music?
Music time. Hi, let's listen to some music.
And it's going to play different music. And by the way, there are two different modes of loud and less loud, right? Which we appreciate as parents, right? And when I press the cheese, it makes different noises here. Okay, so lots and lots of pages and categories. I just showed you food. Each one has a tab. clothes. So I'm going to learn all about the different clothes. Then there is one for toys. There's one for the park. And then we've got our last one here, which is the zoo. These are all the sort of beginning labels that we want a child to learn. I'm competing with it. And you can push the button to ask questions too here. So they'll say find.
Find something that begins with the letter M.
So find something that begins with the letter M. So you may not realize this. I'm going to turn this off, but we're already in doing this. There are a bunch of things that if we had a child with autism, we would very specifically be working on. So we're trying first to get them to be able to label all these different things, but with this question button, what they're actually doing, for those of you who know ABA, they're jumping to interverbals. They're asking, so now I'm not going to tell you what letter it begins with. Now I'm not going to tell you, I'm just going to say, you know, can you find something that's whatever, and we're hoping that the child can identify that. So we've got categories, we've got features, we've got letters, we've got numbers, we've got music, and we've got interverbals here. This is a great toy. This is a great learning toy. This will keep your toddler happy. And I would utilize this toy for any time when you've got to do something else. This is not a babysitter toy, but this is a maximizer toy. So you got to drive to the doctor's office, you'd bring this for that period of time in the car. You've got to help another child to do something for a few minutes and you want the child to be occupied in learning, that is when you use this toy. You can also take this toy for quiet time when you're reading books together and sit with them and have the child direct you through the book, and you can be asking questions. But this is really an amazing toy for a toddler. I can't even tell you, like I was looking for just a board book for a toddler and I just kept going, but this is the thing that will get your child to know the things that they need to know. And they're not going to know that it's a learning environment. They're just going to be like, this is super fabulous fun, because it's so interactive. I enjoy playing with it. It's not heavy. It's very durable because it's a well-made VTech toy. So check it out, the Touch and Teach word book from VTech. It's a great toy to have this holiday season. We're going to be back with another toy after these messages, so stick with us. Parent to parent, you might be asking yourself sometimes, why does my child have meltdowns? Well, the difference between tantrums and meltdowns, they're a part of typical development, but meltdowns are when things get a little bit more out of control, when even the child isn't sure what's entirely wrong. Generally with a meltdown, there's an environmental component. There's something else going on outside the child that's making the tantrum worse. It's really important that we start to be detectives and take notes and look around at the environment and start to figure out what are the things that happen every time your child has a meltdown. And lastly, it's important to get help. You really can't face these kinds of things effectively completely on your own. Tantrums, they're a part of typical development, but don't accept meltdowns as something that just happens. Make sure you get help and support. You might be asking yourself if your child has autism. So you get to see the behind the scenes here. It's all right. It's all right. We're a crew of 2, 3 really, and we make it happen. So let me get all set up here, and then we'll start this, because this is one of my fave. And in fact, well, I'm going to do it again. What I just did was caused all the balls to go running. This is our top toy in the tween division. So this little puppy is called the Turing Tumble. And if you have kiddos that are really into computers, there we go, top toy winner, dun, 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 dun. If they're really into computers and you're thinking, well, they're spending a lot of time on their phone, they're spending a lot of screen time, I don't know how we jump from there into the next phase where you've heard of those kids that are suddenly building their own computers. Well, This is a helpful tool along that path because it gets your child thinking, or your tween or your teen, thinking about what is the cause and effect that actually powers the thing that's on my screen. It really begins to teach the basics of coding, but not in a dry way. And a lot of times, I don't want to say that I don't like when you can teach coding online. There's great things to do that, but we all know that doing something experiential helps to learn more. And that's what the Turing Tumble does. It actually helps your child to create a computer on this board that has a task that it's trying to do and a task that it's trying to complete. But here's the most fabulous thing about this as far as I'm concerned. Not only does it look like this pinball thing that's really fun, right? But it comes with this booklet. And it's the puzzle book, and it is set up to look like a graphic novel. It says, "The adventure begins." And we have this young lady here who's a scientist, and we go on a journey with her through the graphic novel. And from time to time, as she's going through this, so we're reading and we're following along, and a problem arises, and our tween has to help her to solve the puzzle of how to fix the problem. And so they are given in their code book an assignment. And they're told, okay, these are the pieces that you get. This is by the way, the how to play. And we go into our first, it's right here, puzzle 1, which I was attempting to set. It tells us which pieces that we need, and it tells us what we're trying to accomplish, and it does it in computer code, and then it shows you, what you need to do and then how you need to set it up. So I believe that what we're trying to do here is to get all of the balls to come down. And so I set it up the way that I've been told. I have to arrange the puzzle, however, and then I flip the lever, and I get a result. And then I have to look at the result and say, is it the result I wanted? And I think what we wanted was for all the blue ones to come down, and that I did not get that result. So now I have to go through and I have to move these pieces around and put the balls back up and trial and error until I can get all of the blue ones to come down. Now the puzzles get harder and harder, and there are many more pieces. I streamlined this, but there are pieces that are much more complicated and different colors that have different levers and different weights on them so that you can catch a ball, you can make it go and change direction, you can do all kinds of things. So as they work through the puzzle book, the challenges get harder and harder, and the pieces that you start with get more and more complicated. But again, this is one of my favorite things about it, is this book, because in the back, for parents that are not good at this, excuse me, the answers are here for us. Don't you love that? Because I'm not going to be the one to figure this out, right? But if my son gets caught, then I'm going to be able to wade in and be able to make a suggestion based on the solution to the puzzle, which helps me because this is not my area, right? A lot of times our kids are just smarter than us, and that is certainly the case with my kid. So I love this. They can work on this in groups, or they can do it by themselves. You can work on it with them. I've had great fun doing this with people at the office and figuring it out, and it's very interesting to see how people's brains work, and they're like, well, wait a second, what if I try this? And seeing how people problem solve, which is something we want all of our kids to do. And to do it in an arena where we're teaching the basics of coding and it's experiential, so they're having to use all of their senses, and they can very quickly move something and say, let's try it this way. But in the book, it shows what it looks like in code. Stop. It's just too fabulous. So I really super love this game. In fact, can I be honest? We featured this last year on our toy guide. And, I always want to introduce new toys, but I love this so much that we gave it an award this year, and we gave it the top toy award. We heard back from so many families last year who just loved this toy. I think it's ideal for tweens that are really into computers, teens that are into computers, and adults that are into computers. If you have an exceptional school-aged kiddo who's very advanced, then they might be able to do this, but it's a little high level. It's the touring tumble. Let me show you the box. And again, if you want to purchase this, if you go to autism-live.com, click on the toy guide at the top of the page. All of the toys featured in this year's toy guide are interactive, so you can click on the title of the toy and it will take you right to a place where you can purchase it. I do want to say that we do not make any money off the sale of the toys. So we are just recommending these toys because we think they're super fabulous. The touring tumble, it's a great gift. All right, stick with us. We're going to be right back to close out the show.
Hello, fellow activists. Last week, I introduced you to step 5 of the 10 steps to empowerment, shore up spiritually. Let's talk more about finding ways to do that, how to find out what lifts your spirit, feeds your soul, and make it a practice. That practice is different things for different people. It could be the practice of meditation, of prayer, of community worship, or serving others. But it's the practice that will give you hope and faith and strength for the journey ahead, for the marathon journey of raising a child with autism. I get inspired every day by the families of children with autism that I come into contact with, like the parents of the nonverbal child who have not given up hope that that child will speak one day, or the grandparents who should be enjoying their retirement but instead are joyfully raising their adult grandchild with autism, or the mother who is fighting for services for her daughter while her Marine husband is fighting a battle to keep our country safe. They all inspire me. My grandmother, Diddy, who is an angel who still guides me every day, had this quote inscribed in her Bible. I sought my soul, but my soul I could not see. I sought my God, but my God eluded me. I sought my brother, and I found all three. I think I'm finally starting to grasp the meaning of that. So feed your soul, lift your spirit, and until next time, keep the faith.
Welcome back. I'm having more fun playing. And so in any case, I wanted to remind all of you that this weekend is pretty jam-packed for us. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing a live feed, and I wish I could tell you what time it is. I think that we're going live at 11 in the morning at the Center for Special Needs Family Fun Festival. So check out our Facebook page tomorrow because we're going to go live and I'm going to be interviewing people there, and it should be a really good time. We love the Center for Special Needs. So that's tomorrow. And then on Sunday, it's going to be so fabulous. We are going to Ed Asner's 90th birthday. This is a benefit that is for the sponsorship of the Ed Asner Family Center, which is a wonderful, wonderful place that provides all kinds of camp experiences and lessons in the arts, plus mental health support for caregivers and individuals who are on the autism spectrum. It's really an amazing undertaking. We're so proud of the Asner Paskowitz family for what they have done there. They've really made a home. I certainly feel like I've come home whenever I go there. So this benefit is, it's Ed Asner's 90th birthday, and all of the proceeds are going to the Ed Asner Family Center. But we are going to be there on the red carpet, and we are going to be talking to some Hollywood elite. Dick Van Dyke, Take My Pulse, I'm beside myself. Cloris Leachman, I am one of Cloris Leachman's biggest fans, so watch me be stupid because I won't know what to say. And then Jackson Brown, hello, come on, Darius Rucker, and that's just the beginning. Our friend Rosie O'Donnell is going to be there. There are going to be so many, it's star-studded, so let's say that. And we're really excited. People come out for Ed. Ed will be there, of course, my buddy. And we'll be on the live on the red carpet. We believe that that's starting at 5, but we'll give you a little bit more information when we get it. But be checking out, we've started a watch party, so sign up for it and be there with us. We're going to be live, no way of editing, no way of turning away. So anything that happens, happens, and something always happens. So Definitely be there with us. And then we will be back on Monday. And let me just give you a rundown of some of what we have going on Monday. On Monday, we've got a great show that's really going to feature biomedical stuff. We've got guests Anita Lesko and Cristina Addams. Anita Lesko is, of course, a self-advocate who recently has discovered a way to reverse her diabetes, and she's going to be talking about that with us. Cristina Addams' book, Camel Crazy, is out today. She's going to be talking with us about camel milk and the benefits of camel milk and why her book is called Camel Crazy. Then on Tuesday, we're going to have a best of. On Wednesday, we've got Ask Dr. Doreen. On Thursday, Jim Garber from Discovery Toys is going to be here with us to show some of the other winners that we've had on the toy guide from Discovery Toys. Then on Friday, Ifunanya Nowicki will be here from Jazz Hands for Autism, and Darren Phyllis from Destroller Toys will be with us as well. Big week. Make sure that you're here with us. We're here every day for the next 8 days. So check us out on Saturday and Sunday and be back with us on Monday. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.